I mean, it's Donna being a dyslexic diva. It's Brandon and Brenda having a completely different experience of their parents. It's Luke Perry forever being him. Steve being a racist, and it's David dancing like David danced. Listen, I came over here and I am rolling out a new segment for My Sweet Perspective that I like to call Sorry I'm Late.
Sorry I'm late.
Sorry, I'm late.
Hey, sorry, like,
Sorry I'm late.
Sorry, I'm late.
sorry, I'm late. Sorry, I'm late.
Sorry, I'm late.
Sorry, I'm late.
Where I go back and we dig into the crates and we are covering some old shows season by season. And I'm starting with Beverly Hills 90210. Y'all, welcome. Come on in the room, all right? Because we're about to get into all the things season one of Beverly Hills 90210. Sometimes I dip back and I go back into those streets, those early 90s, late 80s, sometimes early 80s streets, because I need a fix of something different that you can't get on TV right now. So this time I went over to Beverly Hills 90210 that aired on Fox October 4th, 1990, with 22 episodes in their first season. I can't be more glad that I did. I went and put out some short form content that did so amazingly well. I said, oh, the people want to see this. This is what people want to talk about. I have not watched a single episode of Beverly Hills 90210 since I have been an adult. And you can do the math. That's been a very, very long time. So I said, how would it hit today in 2026? And I fear it hits. Listen, I didn't understand, I don't think, or fully realize how much TV that you watch in your formative years sticks with you over time. As I've been watching, there are certain things that I still remember. Now, I don't remember everything. This definitely feels like a first time watch, but there are certain moments, certain scenes, certain episodes that they've left an indelible mark on me. And so I want to get into it. We are really just going to approach this by the character arcs in season one, the big episodes, the things that stood out to me. And yeah, we're going to get into all the things. So get a snack, get some form of libation, honey, and let's go back down memory lane. So if you remember correctly, Beverly Hills started and we met the Walsh twins, Brandon and Brenda. It was their first year at West Beverly Hills High after moving from Minneapolis. So they are true Midwesterners who are coming to the big city because their father, Jim, had just got a brand new job and was transferred, honey. The company was paying for that good first house, because I also question that. Because, the pilot is filmed somewhere completely different. And then you have, once you're picked up to series, you kind of get a little bit more coin maybe, and you do all the things. And so I did notice that. But this is the slow burn debut season. Episodes are fairly standalone. So the people are really the story, which is exactly why I want to cover this really by character arc. Now, let's start with our leads, okay? Because the people who have been with us all these hundreds of years, we need to talk about them. So at first we have Brandon Walsh, who for me in season one alone, to me, stood as really the moral compass, the true north of the friend group, who really didn't have to try hard. He was all American, good looking. He came in, but he really had a strong sense of right and wrong, even outside of the BYOB episode that I know y'all are going to come here where he got his little DUI. Even outside of that, we saw Brandon really acclimating to Beverly Hills, but he was still stuck on, these true core, I think, Midwestern values. He was the good guy. Midwest values, wants to stay grounded while everything around him is really competing with that. Like, I just want to do a good job. I want to write the sports section. I want to do my classwork, be good to my friends, do the right thing. He is tested over and over again. Am I gonna do the right thing? And he doesn't succeed in every mission. And I do think that the BYOB episode really put things into perspective from him, because now that I'm further along in the series, I believe I'm wrapping up season 4 now. Season one Brandon is not the Brandon that we get later on. And so it does kind of make me wonder how much of this was like put on and how much of it was real. Rewatching this for the first time after so many years, it felt very genuine in season one. I believed him. I think the biggest thing I struggled with And it wasn't really with his character, it was with Cindy and damn Jim, was how differently they treated Brenda than they treated him, because there is a stark contrast now. And I said it, why he don't have a curfew and Brenda has a curfew. But then when she went off with that man at the club in the middle of the night, I said, oh, okay, that's why she needs a curfew. But there was a staunch difference, and I think someone in the comment section on either TikTok or Instagram had said, Brenda was a good sister, Brandon was a good son. And I think that is so instrumental and so telling, because he was his father's child. He was their pride and joy. And Brenda could get this work, but she loved her brothers and she was kind of like, damn the man, push him down. But he wasn't. He really wanted to do whatever he needed to do to kind of stick with the status quo and be what was right. It was part of that pretension, maybe, or like to give an air of superiority, maybe. But also, I think that was just a part of him being young, being immersed, and wanting to hold on to what he knew before. He comes in, I'm really not going to be impressed by this. I'm not going to try too hard. And immediately that made him cool. The girls wanted him. Now, the other issue I think that we run into in season one, outside of the DUI, was when the one teacher didn't buy everything he was selling. Because Brandon's used to getting his straight A's, doing all the things, and he runs into this one class where the teacher grades on a curve, and it's like, yeah, no, you're not about to do this to me. And so he gets his hands to cheat, I think by way of Steve. And we, ultimately we figure it out. We also have it run-ins with the blacks in season one, and he almost succumbs to me to Steve's way of thinking in terms of, why are they being bussed here, and ghetto crackhead gangbangers, all of those things, until he actually has a conversation. And I think that's what I liked most about his character in season one. He seemed still open to have the conversation. I like that some of that bravado gets checked in season one, and I think it really frames who Brandon later becomes. I want to know from you guys though, and I want you to drop it in the comment section, because I want this video to go up, because listen, if it does, we're going to cover all 10 seasons, okay? But Sweet Peas, was Brandon genuinely a good guy, or just written to look like a good guy? That's what I want to know. Is he actually the moral center of the show, or is he the biggest hypocrite? All right, let's go on over here to Brenda, honey, because Brenda was just trying to figure it out. Now, I have to put this in here because growing up, I did not like Brenda. And again, I was so young that I can't really frame it as to why I didn't like her, but I did not like Brenda. Watching as an adult, is Brenda flawed? Absolutely. But do I respect Brenda? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You can't help but respect her. Now that I'm further along, I've actually seen her growth. And like I said, Brenda is not a perfect character by any stretch of the imagination. And I think that's what makes the characters in 90210 so relatable, because none of them are really perfect. You know what I mean? They all have their things, they all have their issues. Now, unlike Brandon, she's coming in and she wants to fully be Hollywood immediately, from going to the clothing stores and like, yeah, I don't have no money. I'm gonna have to try to figure this out. I'm gonna try to figure out these fashions, how I can fit in. Is Kelly gonna like me? Like, how is this gonna work? Very naive, and very much, even from the beginning, day one, really being immersed into being problematic and trouble and picking the wrong boys and all of that. But I love her, and I don't think it's necessarily rebellion. I just really feel like Brenda, even young, even in the first time we're meeting her, has a strong sense of what it is she wants to do. Not who she is yet, but the things that she wants to do. And you can't do nothing but respect it. Like I said, now people say that Brandon was the worst brother ever. In season one, I don't think so. I think it was cute. Like, I feel like he was also her safe place as much as she was his in season one. She's just trying to figure it out. I also think navigating the girl world, especially in adolescence, is totally different than navigating the guy or the boy world over there. So I mean, I won't hold it against her. She got over there with Kelly, who was already drinking, smoking, straight West Coasting, and so she really didn't have much of a chance. I believe at some point she gets brought in for shoplifting because, honey, Kelly don't warn her about this girl from the school who's always stealing the things. And to put it in Brenda's bag and in her closet at home. And it's like Brenda always takes the brunt of it. And like I said, while she's not perfect, I feel like season one, she was discovering who she is. Later on, when you see her more fully realize she's not right all the time, but at least she stands by what she believes. Like she's bound by her convictions. And I can't help but love that. Officially starts dating Dylan in season one, although for me, and I love Dylan down bad, and we'll get into Dylan. But that first night that they're together, and I said, is he about to put his hands on her? Dylan, you would never do that. And Brenda takes off running down the street and she's like, I'm scared. Brenda, I was scared too. Because what was Dylan doing? Because you were mad with your daddy, Dylan? Don't do that. Now, Dylan was already in the AA. He had already been an alcoholic. Dylan done lived 100 lives. Dylan was hitting skins, smacking, flipping up, rubbing down already. And so obviously, and his father, guilty of many financial crimes, all in the headlines because he's a scammer, a schemer in the financial world. And so immediately Jim Walsh hates him. Jim is probably one of the most, I can't even call him elitist because he don't have nothing yet, but very judgmental. Like you're judging Dylan off the acts of his father, which is completely crazy as hell to me. Now, we have a slumber party in season one where everything's got to come out. And I really hate it. We'll talk about it more when we get into Kelly because I don't like that. We have the spring dance. And baby, this was a time. This was the season's biggest she's not a kid moment because she gave them cookies to Dylan. She gave him up, baby. She gave him up. She gave it up. And I mean, again, in hindsight, thinking that these were sophomores in high school, this was a lot that they had on network TV. It was a lot that they weren't afraid to tackle or get into. By the end of season one, Brenda is a completely different person. She's in love, she's more adult. She is pushing back, speaking truth to power in terms of her parents about who she is, what she's going to do, and what she's not going to do. Brenda gets judged way harder than anybody else in this show, in my opinion, especially by her father. And I don't know. I don't know if that speaks to the time, the era we were in, or just that family dynamic, but it was definitely a double standard. And I did not like that. They parented them completely different. It was always Brenda can go to hell. Brenda. If you date him, I'm gonna like, no, I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, do I agree with that as a minor? I mean, you have to listen to your parents, but girl. Anyway, for the sweet peas in the comment section, did Brenda grow up too fast in season one? Or was she just living her life? Was that par for the course in those days? You guys drop it in the comments and let me know. Now, baby, listen. I fear I may have been brought to tears a couple moments all about Dylan. That's a good man, Savannah. Outside of his one moment of aggression all about his daddy with Brenda that freaked me out. I get it, girl. I get it. I get it, Brenda. I fear I would have been outside. I fear I would have been outside with Dylan. Listen, he's a loner with no family. We discover very early on he's been abandoned by everybody that he loves. His mother, his father. He is really out here a lone wolf with all this money and just really trying to figure out where he fits. I believe his introduction where we first meet him is in was it like the AV department with David and Scott, and they're in there playing and some bullies come in to try to mess with Scott. And Dylan stands up for him immediately while Brandon just kind of sits there and looks from the side. Immediately knew who Dylan was going to be in my life from that moment on. I said, Dylan, because although he had his own stuff, he was never afraid to take a stand for what he thought was right, which is why I really believed that he and Brenda, it was going to be Dylan and Brenda forever. That's what I thought. Child, that's what I thought. But again, this is the moment where he and Brandon are kind of instantly friends as well. In the BYOB episode where Brandon has his issue, this is also the episode where it's revealed that Dylan was an alcoholic, and he takes him to an AA meeting. And it's really like kind of the first moment that I get to be vulnerable with another guy on the show. And I really love that for us. Everybody was like, Dylan McKay, Dylan McKay, Dylan McKay. And then all of a sudden, when Brenda wanted Dylan McKay, it was like, I've been wanting Dylan. Let me go see if he'll do it. But he's always kind of, at least in season one, kind of bound to this level of morality that changes. But in season one, I respect Dylan. I really, really love his character because it almost feels like even in the worst possible situation, in terms of really feeling unloved and alone and by yourself and all of those things, you can still be somebody that's good, right? That has a good heart and operates genuinely and compassionately in the world. I just love what Dylan represented. I think my favorite relationship with him, really not romantic at all, but it was between him and Cindy. I really love how she came in and embraced Dylan. Like that was so special to me. That absolutely meant a lot. I love that. I love that by the end of season one, he's no longer a loner, but he's kind of has this found family now. I like that. All still feeling judged by Jim, but between Cindy, between the friend group, between Brenda, it's like, oh, he's finding his place. Now, what I want to know from you on Dylan, okay? Were you a Dylan girl in season one? Are you still a Dylan girl? Or am I alone? Because some people said F Dylan, it was Brandon all day, but I want to know from you where we're at. But let me know in the comment section. Now, let's get on over here, honey, to Kelly. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Kelly. It'll never be completely F Kelly for me because as much as y'all like to hate her in the later episode or later seasons, and of course, as we go through these seasons, we'll get into it more. I fear her upbringing was crazy as hell. Her mama was tooting and pooting and doing all of the things. And it's like, what did you expect her to do? Like, she was exposed to Smex really early. You can tell that there were situations where she was compromised and, dare I say it, SA'd. In situations, she had her own experiences with the rugs and all of that. And also trying to be like mother and parent yourself is hard when your mom is out here partying all hours of the day and night with men, with the coke and all of those things. And you have to figure out, how do I live? How do I make it? How do I feel like somebody when my mom's not doing that? So again, I want to sit with that because while Kelly was not my favorite season one, I feel like she was hoity toity. I felt like she thought she was much better than she actually was. And she was nice, nasty in a lot of ways, especially with Brenda. There was always this creeping jealousy. I think I understood it as a young girl coming up. I understand where she was coming from. I do. So I just want to set that right there. But again, the setup is she is the queen bee. She is Kelly, honey, beautiful, popular, and has all of the things, all of the fashions, all of the money, all of the boys. We see her home life very quickly, and that is ultimately a mess. Her mom Jackie was a model, and she's again drinking, and she's unstable, and the Kelly Taylor persona image that everybody thought was true was absolutely not. Across the season, we see her with Brenda, and it's very much a nice, nasty situation. At first, it's like, okay, girl, you can come over here, but not too much. Or let's have this sleepover and let me invite this whore of Babylon who's going to come over here and mess with everybody. Also, let me confess to you that, yeah, as soon as I found out you and Dylan were together, I tried to get a piece. Kelly, please. And he denied me. What? And then, Brenda gives a confession about how she tried to take one of her friends' boyfriends back in the day. And it was like, trivial little things. But I'm like, this is today, Kelly. And you just feel so free and cool to do all of this. In relation to Andrea and some of the other girls, I struggled with Kelly too, just with like her judgment and what she felt like she deserved versus what she was getting. But again, I think that was just growing up. But you guys drop it in the comments. Let me know. Did y'all clock how much Kelly was hiding back in season one? Does it justify her actions and behaviors? Would it allow you to give her grace at all? Or is it F Kelly for you guys? Because like I said, I go back and forth with Kelly, especially in the later seasons, because we know what happens. We know Dylan and her ultimately, have their whatever moment. But Brenda was also doing her stuff too. Like, it was never innocent. Every time I think we saw a Brenda and Dylan moment where one of them was trying something new or somebody knew they were both doing it. So you never really got the opportunity to be mad at one over the other, because a lot of times they were both doing the same things at the same times, just on other sides of the show. But anyway, easing on down the road, let's go on here to Andrea Zuckerman, honey, who was old as hell. Now, like I said, when this came out, I believe I was 6 or 7 years old. I in no way knew that Andrea was old as hell when I was watching back then. But upon rewatch, I was like, this lady got a good 15, 20 years on these children in this show. Why are you here? And then what made it so bad is that she was pining and running after Brandon the whole time. Andrea was so annoying in season one for me. She was like this know it all, goody two shoes, the brain. She runs the paper, the blaze, takes everything seriously, doesn't quite fit in. And she's going to remind you of that every time, because she's going to go in a corner and pout. Oh, but I love Brandon. I want Brandon. I need Brandon. Where's Brandon? Girl, Brandon don't want you. She's striving. She wants achievement. She wants to be accepted in the friend group. And baby wants Brandon real bad. We find that out the sleepover either. And although I didn't like Andrea, Kelly be damned for bringing that heifer over here to kind of make her feel bad. Don't do that. I didn't like that. So again, we find out ultimately that she lives out of district. She's being bused because her parents live in Van Nuys, and she got to go stay with her raggedy grandmother, who grandma has an issue. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie for you. She said I was in them camps, all right? And I had to lie back then because it was my life, girl. This is just school. And my thing is, well, damn, grandma, you can't say she lit her. I mean, she wasn't willing to try to move a crate, a cup, anything. The girls had to come over and help it look like she lived over there. But I don't know. It very much aggravated me because get at baby your address to attend West Beverly High. And apparently it was all because Andrea's mama was having a dispute with her grandma. But can we also talk about Andrea's parents, who were low and just trash as hell, in my opinion? Anyway, again, she's yearning all of season one, with Brandon as her crush. How she lands for me, she don't really land in season one. It takes me a while to really even be okay with Andrea, and I never really like her. I never really get there. But y'all drop it in the comments. Let me know how you is she the most realistic teen on the show about unrealistic teens? Because I just didn't get it. And like I said, watching it as an adult, I'm looking at her as an adult in these situations. And it's just very annoying to me. But y'all let me know. And I want to know at the end of this, who is your favorite 90210 character? That's what I want to know. Now, let's go get on over here to Steve Sanders. Like I said, in season one, Steve is a whole racist, in my opinion. I'm gonna just set it right there. He was. He's cocky. He's rich. He's got the brand new, what is it, Ferrari, all of that. And he and Brandon kind of have a vibe. Like, I think as a kid watching it, you'd be like, oh, he's harmless, whatever. I think watching it now, you realize how dangerous Steve could have been. Now, I will say, because I'm deeper now into the series, I see the changes in his character arc, but crazy as hell. In season one, I think the biggest story with Steve was the fact that he finds out that his famous actress mother actually adopted him. And now he's kind of on this thing that I need to discover who I am. Why did you lie to me? Why did you not tell me to wait, to when I needed to? But again, when the blacks come to play the sports, yeah, I'll never get to play now because the blacks are here. He doesn't say it like that. I'm paraphrasing, but I was really like, Steve, boy, really? And of course, we find out that he and Kelly had a background and he loves that. I love that girl. I think what's endearing about Steve, especially in later seasons, is that he does have allegiances, and he stands beside them. And I guess they say he lands as an adorable, like lovable goofball. I will say I do like his relationship with David in season one, although it is forced, because do you know who his people are? Like I don't know if they abandoned that or not, because David's daddy was an orthodontist or something. I don't know. But anyway, from whatever means brought them to friendship, as far as with the Silvers. I enjoyed that he was there for David as David was trying to figure out, everything. Because David was a freshman, he was whatever. I want to know from you, did season one Steve have any depth, or was he just there for comic relief or just to be the jock? Because Steve, they say the actor Ian Ziering or whatever his name was, he was grown as well. He was grown like Andrea. Now, as far as Donna, baby, she was barely there. But yet, my favorite dyslexic girlie, I love her down. She was a dyslexic diva who had all of the fashions. Okay. She had all the fashions spring, summer, fall. She had them all. I loved her. She was sweet, sheltered, and she was just kind of there, very dingy, but very lovable in a way. And then, of course, we had David, who was dancing like David, baby, because every dance, that spring dance, he got out there and cut a rug. You can't tell me anything different, honey. I said, go, David, go, David, go, David, go, David, go, go. Now, I remember being a child and David being my crush, honey. I remember that vividly. But some people say he's a clout chaser by today's standards, that he was just trying to get in with the cool kids and he was forever in love with Kelly Taylor, honey. That's what it was. And then, of course, we had Scott, who was really just kind of there, but this was David's best friend, and he becomes pivotal in season two, for something that stuck with me my entire life. Like when I came back to that episode when I was watching season two, I was like, oh, I remember this, boohoo, crying real tears. But if we come back for season two, we will talk about it. Now, let's get over here to Jim and Cindy Walsh, because damn it, I love Cindy down bad. I really wanted her to have more of a voice, but I realized the time, right? I realized the time that we were in. Jim purported to be fair and balanced, but he had his own prejudices. He had his moments where he wasn't good. Like his treatment of Dylan to me will never really be forgivable. In that first season, I just hated that instant rush to judgment. It kind of undid a lot of what the other actions he did, if that makes sense. But of course, baby, we get into him and Cindy, and I believe this is the moment, honey, where Cindy steps out on Jim, baby. Because Jim, who are you playing with? Because you don't think somebody else wanted, because he do. We also have another moral dilemma with the baseball team when Jim is hurt and Brandon has to take over. And we find out this is really about who you know and the money. And, are we going to do what's right? Or are we going to go where the money resides? In other words, we at the end of season one come to kind of this pivotal moment where we may have to go back to Minnesota. Jim has been offered this huge amount of money to go back and all of those things. He's ready to pack up the family, but says, listen, we're going to have a family vote. Brenda, Brandon, and Cindy all vote to stay, and ultimately they get to stay. I want to know from you. Drop it in the chat. Were Jim and Cindy the best TV parents of the 90s, or was there something else going on? I don't know. But child, when Cindy, listen, I said, all right, Cindy, now keep it cute. Uh, Now listen, overall, like I said, I had a great time watching season one. This brought back all the feels, all the memories. Let me know. And I mean, there are a lot of other things that we could talk about. We could definitely talk about some other things related to this friend group, to these characters, all of that. But you guys drop it in the comments and let me know. I will say there is one thing that kind of stood out as far as the DUI that vanished. Brandon Lee supposedly loses his license, then is driving again in the next couple episodes with no real follow up about that. And I also think that speaks to the treatment that Brenda got versus the treatment that Brandon got. Because when Brenda did something, everybody and their mama was going to hear from it. Did that finale really do it for you? I don't know. Drop it in the comments. And as far as the timeline moving from sophomore year to junior year, I'm not doing too much on it because I realize that it is a product of its time. I just had a fun time watching it. But you guys drop it in the comments. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think about this format, the Sorry I'm Late segment that I'm introducing. Let me know. And let me know if you want to talk about season two, because we can get into the nitty nitty gritty. If you have specific moments that you want to talk about, specific character dynamics that you want to talk about, because we can get into the thick of it. We really, really can. But anyway, y'all, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hype the video, do all the things, and I will see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching.